our final speaker of the evening, we have Olivia Cutler. Olivia grew up in a small farming town of Newdale, Idaho, where she was raised not just by her parents, but by an entire community. She was raised on an Idaho potato farm where she developed a strong work ethic and an appreciation for life's simple joys. Now a communication major, Olivia is passionate about helping people discover who they are and having the courage to act on it. She believes that every person has a voice for a reason, and that standing up for what you believe is one of the most powerful things you can do. Olivia often says the world would be a much better place if we were brave enough to share what we're truly thinking. Her ultimate goal is to use her education and life experience to improve the quality of life for whatever communities she's called to serve in, and helping others live more confidently, authentically, and boldly. Please welcome Olivia Cutler to the stage.
Like no other.
I want you to imagine that you are 16 years old again. You're barely old enough to drive, and instead of having one of those moments where you are dreaming about your future, you are stepping off a train into Auschwitz-Birkenau. Your name is taken, your hair is shaved, and you are now known by a number. This was the reality of Silke Klein. At 16 years old, she was sent to one of the most infamous Nazi death camps, Auschwitz-Birkenau. Upon her arrival, because of her youth and beauty, she was chosen by a Nazi commandant and forced to live as his concubine. Each day, she watched others powerless to help them, yet she survived. When the war finally ended, she assumed that she would be free, but she wasn't. The Soviet government assumed that she was collaborating with their enemy, the Nazis, because of her position as that Nazi commandant's concubine, and they sentenced her to another 15 years in a Siberian labor camp. Silke's story has impacted me forever because in her own circumstances, excruciating, in a situation simply built on cruelty, she decided to fight for a position as a nurse, where she had the opportunity to show compassion to her fellow inmates. Now, why does this matter for you? None of us are going to experience this circumstances that Silke did, but we may all have our own circumstances that are uncertain, where we are going to have to decide who we are going to be. I found it interesting that there was a survey done in America, and 83% of Americans believe that life has meaning in a general sense. But then, when they were asked to name their own individual purpose, only 1 in 4 adults were able to do so. So I want to do something with you now. Before this event, we placed sticky notes beneath your chairs. They should be on the front part of the chair, and I want you to grab it. Okay, now, there are all different colors of sticky notes. There's many colors out there. Listen carefully. If you have a pink sticky note, I would like you to stay seated. If you have any other color, will you please stand? Those who are sitting and those who are standing, I want you to look around the room because this is very significant. 75% of people do not believe or cannot identify their own individual purpose. 75% is represented by those who are standing in this room today. Take one more look around. Okay, you may be seated. So I started asking myself a question. What does this mean for me? What does this mean about what we believe about our purpose? Does this mean the 75% of you that just stood Just wake up every day simply to go through the motions, not knowing why you do what you do? I don't necessarily think so, but there's something interesting happening. We believe that our purpose is going to be found in some future destination, some future achievement, some future checklist. To put it into perspective, you may have found yourself saying things like, I will find my purpose when I finally return home from my mission, or when I eventually graduate college and land my dream career. Even better, when I get married and I start my family. And what if you're still saying it by the time you're due to reach retirement? We believe that our purpose is something to be found in the future, and it is not. Rather, our purpose can be found in living simple principles. There are many principles that you can choose to live by. Some of them being discipline, humility, integrity, whatever it is for you. Your goal is to pick a principle that matters the most to you so that you could live by it, never wavering. Throughout the last few years, I found myself in my own uncertain circumstances. One that feels heavy, maybe even lonely, and sometimes I've even asked myself the why me questions. I lost myself in this situation. I found that as soon as I picked one thing to focus on, one principle to live for, I stopped asking the why me questions. My principle was love. Not love that tolerates disrespect or ignores boundaries, but love that is sincere and especially forgiving. Silka did this same thing. She chose a principle and then lived by it, and it saved her life. Much of my research on this topic has been done by the man of the name Viktor Frankl. He happens to be one of my greatest heroes, a Holocaust survivor himself, and the author of a very famous book called A Man's Search for Meaning. In this book, he says, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. In other words, you are not powerless when you face your own circumstances of uncertainty. You can move forward with intention, and you can even learn how to respond to your circumstances. And you are going to do so by allowing your principle to guide your actions. Then you don't have to ask the why me questions. For my own personal example, if I face another situation, I approach it with the idea that all I have to do is love. And when I do so, I don't have to be afraid of what may happen, what may be taken from me, or who I will be, because I already know. I want to do something with you now. Those sticky notes that we used earlier, if you still have them, I want you to take them and crumble them up. Crumble them up good, too. Once you've crumbled them up, for the sake of this demonstration, I want you to throw them. They might hit somebody in the back of the head, so duck if you have to. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Good job. I know this seems silly, but this represents something very significant. Us in this room today will not be a part of the 75% of individuals who do not know their purpose. This is because we will follow the same 2 steps that I've shared with you today. First, pick your principle. What matters the most to you? What do you feel like you could live by no matter the circumstances? Second, allow that principle to guide your actions so that when it comes time to respond, you know exactly who you are. Silka did not have time to decide who she was. It was her life that was on the line. Because she chose a principle fought for her life in that way, and decided to serve her fellow inmates, she lived. The same 2 steps that I've shared with you today saved Silka's life and 3.5 million others that survived the Holocaust. So today, right now, I want you to think about what principle you will choose to live by. What matters the most to you? Then when you're faced with your circumstances, you know, I can humbly respond with integrity, humility. I can hold people accountable. I can respond courageously, whatever it may be. Because the question for you is not whether you have a purpose. The question is, what principle will you choose to live by?